Hello, my name is Samar. I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those you want to call me, you can. This will be another 2 looks 1 palette video. And this is a series that I started beginning of last year. And then I continued it this year because it was requested. But I wanted to change it up this year. So I decided to only feature palettes from the brands with my absolute favorite eyeshadow formulas, and I'm showcasing 1 palette a month for this. If you want to see my other eyeshadow, like get ready with me ish type series, which is my palette throwback, which is featuring all of my oldest palettes in my collection, I also have a playlist for that. But the palette that I am showcasing this month is my Sigma Ambiance palette. I absolutely love this palette. I think it was in, I'm really bad at remembering these types of things, but I think it was in 2023. I panned this alongside my Sephora Blues Beauty palette. If it wasn't 2023, it was 24, but I've just lost track of years at this point. But I did pan this and I managed to hit 4 pans in this palette. You wouldn't be able to tell though because I refilled this pan called Basque because it was nearly empty. This was actually the first shade that I hit pan on in this palette for some reason, and I say this in my current Pan That Palette series, like somehow I always end up hitting pan on like the mid-toned matte shades in every palette that I've tried panning before any other shade, including shimmer. So yeah, I used a lot of the shade Basque, so I refilled it with what was left of this, and then I don't know why I'm talking about this. I always do this. I just ramble and go on tangents, but I refilled this with a shade from a different Sephora palette that I decluttered, but it's basically the exact same shade. So this is what the palette looks like. I absolutely love this palette. This, I think, made it to the, not the semifinals, but like the quarterfinals of my palette tournament. This, I think, won the like high-end bracket. So as always, I'm gonna start with some eyeshadow primer, and I'm gonna start with my right eye, and I already have one look picked out. I usually don't plan these looks ahead of time, but I knew specifically that I wanted to use this palette in the month of June because there is a shade in here called Summer Solstice, which is like a burnt red type shade. So I knew that I wanted to use it in June because June is the month of the summer solstice. And in these looks I try to only use, except for like my lower lash line because I hate putting like shimmer eyeshadow there, I try using only this eyeshadow palette. So there's only really one shade in here, like other shade, that I would pair with that. So I kind of just automatically knew the first look that I was gonna do with this palette, but the second one I have not planned at all. And I'm still using my Sesame Street eyeshadow brushes. I cleaned them today with my daily cleaner because I didn't want you to see like just how grubby these get. But I think first I'm going to take this shade Days, which is probably too light to be like a lid setting shade for me at this point because I do have the beginnings of a tan, but I'm just gonna use that to like set my like transition area so that it's a bit easier to diffuse the matte shade. On this brush, I'm gonna kind of just like stamp this Summer Solstice shade all over my eye. Again, this is very much, it's not a bright red, but is very much a red eyeshadow. I love pairing this shade specifically with my favorite ColourPop Super Shock ever. It's called Moonwalk. It's a red and green duochrome, and it looks so good on top of the shade. That's how like pretty much every other time I've ever used this shade, it was that combination. And I'm just gonna try to lightly add a bit like in my transition area. And usually I take whatever shade is on my upper lid and put it like stamp it on my lower lash line, but I don't really want to do that because this is red, and I feel like anytime I put red anywhere around my like lower waterline or my lower lid, it just looks like I'm sick. So I'm not gonna do that. I do want to put something on my lower lash line though. So, and I'm just putting my glitter primer on. I'll probably, once I get the shimmer on my eyelid, I think I'll know better what I want to do. But I'm gonna take this shade Marigold, which is like a kind of reddish gold duochrome. I absolutely love this shade. This is probably my second favorite shade in this entire palette. The first one is Candlelight. I love this shade so much. It looks so good. But I'm just gonna put this all over this eye. And I feel like the red, it's not like the exact same shade of red as Summer Solstice, but I feel like the red in this shade goes pretty well with the matte, and I really like how that looks. I don't know, maybe it is the same shade of red. It doesn't look like it when I swatch it, but that blends like so seamlessly into the matte. Maybe it is the same undertone. Either way, I'm really happy with what this looks like, and I think I'm gonna use this shade called Daylily, and it's just like a light medium kind of like orange shade, comparable to, if you know, like the orange soda shade from the ABH palettes. It's just like a slightly deeper version of that. So that's the first look. I think it's really pretty, but now I have to think about what I'm gonna do for the second look, and part of me wants to use this super yellow gold called Sunflower, because I feel like that's, out of this entire palette, maybe other than Marigold and Summer Solstice, because those both have red in there, and red is my least used color that I ever use with eyeshadow. Other than that, I feel like Sunflower is the most out there color in this palette, because it literally is a yellow gold, or like a yellow metallic basically. So part of me wants to do that, but then part of me wants to do more of a neutral look, since I did red on this eye. And I also really love Candlelight. I just absolutely love that shade. It's my favorite shade in the palette. So you know what? I've just talked myself into using this one. And I think I'm gonna do the look that I was doing basically every day with this palette when I first started panning it. And I was working, I mean, I've like almost always worked in a lab, but when I started at my first lab job, this is what I was wearing all the time, just like on repeat. So I'm gonna take the shade Basque, and this is my first time using it since repressing it, so I'm hoping it's not like hard panned. Okay, it looks like it's okay. So I'm just gonna put this all over my eye. This does have like a warm undertone. It's not, and that shimmer Candlelight has a cool undertone, so it's not like the most perfect match ever, but this is what I was doing every time I wore that shade, so I'm just gonna keep doing it now for this look. It looks fine enough. No one cares. And I went a little bit overboard with this shade because I didn't realize how pigmented this would be. Again, this is my first time using that repressed shade, but it does like blend pretty easily, so that's good. And then I'm just gonna take that same shade and again like stamp it on my lower lash line. As you can see, I was using the shade Enrich a lot. That's how I got the pan in this shade. I was basically, unless I was trying to use this this palette No Pan Left Behind, this is the dark brown that I would use every single time just because. So I think I'm actually gonna use the shade Sunspot instead, just to get some use on the shade. And then just put whatever's left on my brush on the outer part of my lower lash line. And now I'm gonna use my glitter primer again. And these two, both Marigold and Candlelight, and the shade Firefly, which is also a really beautiful shade, are the dry like special shades of the Sigma formula. Sigma has two versions of their like metallic shimmer shades. One is a more like creamy emollient formula, and then the other is those more like dry topper shades, except these actually have base color, so they're not like topper shades, but they're that same type of formula, and they're like super sparkly and so pretty. I feel like, well, while I'm talking, I'll take the shade Candlelight. It is so pretty. It's pretty deep for like an everyday color, but I don't care. That is so beautiful. I love it so much. It just looks like effortlessly pretty. Oh, I love it. And this was the first like really sparkly shade I ever had in my collection. Because back in like 2022 when I bought this, I was not like, I didn't know about indie brands and stuff like that, or I think I had 2 Pat McGrath palettes. In between them there was only one like of her special shades in it. So yeah, this was my, I keep like getting distracted and talking about different things, but this was like the first, it's not like a Danessa Myrick special shade, but it is so pretty for like a mainstream palette, and I feel like it's like subtle enough where I could wear it to work and feel fine, but it's just so nice. A lot of people, I feel like especially people who don't use glitter primers, are very disappointed when they see like these more dry shades from Sigma, but you just have to use the right base for them and that's when they'll pop. Like if you just like tap this on your, oh well, actually that does look quite good, but if you just kind of like tap them, you're not gonna see like the full impact of the shade, especially if you're packing them on top of mattes, which dull them even more. So I just always say, I like to defend Sigma because I feel like a lot of people say it's an overrated brand, and I wholeheartedly disagree. Of course it like literally doesn't matter, you can have your opinion, but I just want everyone to know, if that's what you're experiencing, just try some glitter primer or something before you decide to not like the dry formula shimmers. Then finally, I'm gonna go into the shade Luster, which is just like a light neutral metallic, and put it on my inner corner of this eye. This was like my go-to inner corner shade with this palette. I'm gonna put on eyeliner and mascara and be right back. These are the final looks. So this is the first eye and this is the second eye. I love them both. I think they're so pretty, and this palette just, it brings me back. This is just such a good palette, especially like for its time. It was just a like mostly neutral palette with really good mattes and beautiful shimmers that you could wear like both to the office and like out and about, or like on a night out. If something happened to this palette, I would 100% repurchase this, because like I hope this never gets discontinued so that I can continue repurchasing it. Even with all the palettes that I have, I feel like if I didn't have this palette, my collection would definitely be lacking, especially for these 2 shades, Marigold and Candlelight. I absolutely love them. Everything else in here, I feel like maybe you could get somewhere else, but I love this palette and I think the formula is amazing. That's why I'm featuring it in this series, and I'm very happy that I got to use this palette again, because I haven't picked it up all year, which is a shame because again, this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. But with that being said, I will just see you in my next video, and until then I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.